Most merchant characters in video games tend to get the same generic character trope of Mr. Krabs, I like money, 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 money. Some of them are just straight up there because it's traditional to have that character in the game series, but oftentimes these characters are left with fairly flat writing and are not all that involved in the main story. Which is why when I played through the new chapter in Sword of Convallaria's major update, I was genuinely impressed by the writing for this game's merchant character Acambe, as well as the cheerful Cocoa. It was so good that I cried several times. For those unaware, it's only been a month since the release of my new favorite tactical RPG and this video's sponsor, the Sword of Convallaria. And the development team is already hitting us with the game's first major update, Sand-Made Scales. After participating in the event, you can get yourself the beacon for the other side of balance, which lets you access a brand new story mode in the Spiral of Destinies. Just like the original story, there's several different endings, however, this story is more focused on running a trading company than running a mercenary band. You'll have to manage resources and choose which trading order to complete, many of which will net you more money for your business, but also unlock various side stories and help recruit new characters. If you're on the fence about it, I think you'll really like this game if you're a fan of tactical RPGs like Fire Emblem or more story-driven grid games like Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. And yes, after playing through this story mode, I think the writing in this game goes that deep. But don't just take my word for it, go and play the game yourself. You can download it and play it for free using my link down below and experience the story firsthand. The game does have gacha in it, but you do not need to do any of the gacha to play the story mode. It is entirely free to play friendly, so go try it now. The story. Sand-Made Scales introduces us to another faction in the Sword of Convallaria, the Elemen, which were vaguely mentioned before in the original story, but we now get to properly meet. They are people of the desert and often engage in trade to earn a living, but sadly they are not free people, as all of them are considered property of their ruler, which I'm pretty sure is this lady and she kinda weird. Acambe is a merchant from Elemen, a state merchant in fact, which means he does business on her behalf and is basically not allowed to fail. He is the one that suggests we start a trading company as a way to better influence how things are going in the region. After all, we just survived a major plotted uprising in Waverun City and tensions are running pretty high. At first, Acambe definitely seemed to fit the generic video game merchant trope you've probably seen a million times, doing it all for the money. But as the story progresses, you start to learn more about his background and motivations. It turns out that the Elemen act a lot like their ruler, regularly buying others as their property. And no, I'm not gonna say the word because I don't want YouTube to be mad at me, but yes, it is the word you think it is. Typically, the Elemen love to buy Vdlerians, which are these fox-looking people, and I think that might make them furries, but that's beside the point. The actual point is that this is considered to be a normal thing for the Elemen, just like brunch is normal for us millennials or using TikTok is normal for the Zoomers. One day, our friend Acambe here decided to purchase a certain Vdlerian lady. Not because he wanted an extra work hand, but because he was stricken by her beauty. Unfortunately for him, that one act absolutely crushed her spirit as she was moments away from buying her own freedom. So once the purchase was complete, she committed Alt F4, an act which absolutely scarred Acambe. Up until this point, he was very much accustomed to how things were for the Elemen, but after losing the Vdlerian he had fallen for, he began to question everything. Not long after, Acambe had come to realize the error of his ways, the error of his people. This is not TikTok we're talking about here, it's the lives of innocent Vdlerians and many others. And after that point, Acambe dedicated the rest of his life to interrupting the trade of Vdlerians and other servants, while still holding on to his extremely prestigious high-ranking position within the Elemen. As you play through the story, you get to see this man who has seen the error of his way, who is trying to make up for past mistakes by doing better, yet knows that nothing he ever does will undo the past. There is no redemption for him, but despite all of that, he continues to struggle on, to face on the horrors of this world and tries to build a better future. You've heard of I'm 13 and this is deep? Well, I'm 30 and this is deep. I won't say any more about what Acambe does or how Cocoa plays into this story because I don't want to spoil it for you, and I genuinely believe it is so well written that you should go and experience it for yourself. But I do want to point out how and why this character writing is so good. You have someone whose worldview was drastically changed, yet he's stuck in a place where everyone around him continues to uphold the status quo. They see nothing wrong. He wants to make things better, he wants to repent for his mistakes, yet his actions are restricted by the responsibilities of the role he has within that society. And if he were to say give up that role or betray the one who owns him, Acambe would have to pay with his life. So throughout the story, you get to see this guy make these very hard choices or outright wrong choices that he knows are wrong, despite his desires and convictions to do better. Acambe is not a simple merchant who only cares about making more money or getting a good deal. He's a complicated character, dealing with internal moral struggles as he tries to find a way to lead the world in a better direction. He understands that what he's done and what he continues to do is not good, and he has several moments in the story where he outright reminds us that he is not a good guy. Yet every step of the way, he tries to make a choice that will lead to the greatest good possible. Now take that and compare it to say Anna from Fire Emblem Three Houses, who just wants to be rolling in money and her one side quest basically has her thinking about business and how to make even more. The difference is night and day. And again, this is just one of the new characters introduced in the story. I haven't told you anything about Cocoa or the other characters, and yes, there's more than just these two. And it's not just the story, they've added a whole bunch of new gameplay features too. Unlike the original story in Sword of Convallaria, where you're running a mercenary band, meaning most of your time is spent in various battles, in the other side of balance, you're running a trade organization instead. So, instead of a bunch of battle quests, you have several trade orders to complete each week. At the start of the game, all of the orders are pretty simple. We want some rye beer, or we need construction materials, so send us some stones please. But as you progress through the story, the orders become more complicated. First of all, you can only dispatch so many wagons per in-game week, and second, you only have a limited number of goods in inventory, meaning you have to decide which orders to actually fulfill and when. Of course, the game is still a tactical RPG, so sometimes you have to engage in battles, especially if there's say bandits that are trying to rob your wagon. But what I liked about this new story is that a lot of these quote-unquote battles were pretty unique and had some more story-based elements in them. They felt more intertwined with the whole merchant thing. For example, during this battle, you need to have at least one of your units stand at the table with the merchant so that they can negotiate a trade deal. Meanwhile, you have to use the rest of your units to protect the goods you have from a band of crooks who want to inspect them. Last time I checked, the TSA don't look like that. You also have a lot of battle events where you have to deal with the Darklight faction and their weird experiments. In some of them, you have to make sure to protect the citizens, in others you can convince Darklight members to back down from battle, and some other battles give you two win conditions to choose from. Either defeat the angry crowd or get proof from a nearby merchant and present it to the crowd to calm them down. If you hit the auto battle option, the game will always choose the violent one, which I think is kind of funny. One more important thing worth mentioning is that the game also added an assist feature which lets you bring in fully built characters from the gacha side into the battles of the story mode. You can usually only bring up to 3 characters at the start of the run, but they won't get to keep any of their armor, levels, or skills for the story mode. But with the assist mode, you can bring them in fully ready to go. That means you can have 2 of the same character in battle, like 2 Cocoas, 2 Acambes, or in my case, 2 Simonas to just freeze everything on the field. It's a great optional feature that you can use to speedrun through the battles if you want to focus more on the story, or if you get stuck in a random battle and need some extra help clearing it. I'm all for these quality of life features, and I definitely ended up using it a lot since I got immersed in the writing and wanted to get to the next story beat without spending too much time on the battles. Speaking of which, both Acambe and Cocoa are also playable characters you can get in the game through the gacha system, and both of them have some pretty cool battle mechanics that I had a fun time using. First up, let's introduce Cocoa since she's the current character in the game's rate up banner, and this cute little bundle of joy was very fun to play. Not only does Cocoa have this cute animation where she cooks up some yummy food to heal up your team, she can knock back enemies by whacking them with her frying pan, and she's got a backpack full of useful items ranging from health packs to poison mushrooms mushrooms, which I love throwing at the enemies. Acambe, on the other hand, he plays into that shady merchant character really well. Unlike everyone else in the game who has an energy limit of 5, you can make his energy limit go all the way up to 9. On top of the energy thing, he can also summon up to 2 assassins on the field at a time, which help clear out enemies with their follow-up attacks and will take damage for him. They also have a cool sword spinning move they can use every once in a while that just does nice AoE damage, and he also has a multi-use skill similar to Krakoa that lets him buff up allies or throw money on the field, which attracts both his hired assassins and enemies alike. It's a pretty awesome crowd control skill if you ask me. Overall, I'm really impressed with this major update to Sword of Convallaria. I already thought the gameplay and story of the base game were pretty good and enjoyable, but the Sandmaid Scales update definitely raised the bar, both in terms of character design, gameplay, and most importantly, storytelling. If you want to try the game out for yourself, don't forget to download Sword of Convallaria using my link in the description or pinned comment down below. And once again, I want to say a big thank you to them for sponsoring yet another video on the channel. I cannot wait to see all the new awesome mechanics and stories they have to tell us in the future. Either way, thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!